This Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Dignity Memorial, caring for our communities with a network of funeral homes and cemeteries in Virginia and throughout North America. More information about Dignity Memorial's providers is online at dignitymemorial.com.
Alpha Natural Resources. Consistent with its Running Right process, Alpha is an energy company committed to being a leader in mine safety and an environmental steward. We fuel progress around the world. More information at alphanr.com.
Haley Buick GMC, the place for a new Verano or Terrain Denali, on Midlothian Turnpike in Richmond and online at haleybuickgmc.com. Taking it to the streets and helping our community. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community, working in legislative, regulatory, and political arenas to promote the free enterprise system. Information at vachamber.com.
I just received a letter from a student who thanked me for instilling the love of math in him. That's why I teach.
Brought to you by the Virginia Education Association, because a good education is good for everybody.
Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.
Welcome to This Week in Richmond, and we're delighted to have an opportunity to meet with the two of you again. It's been about a year. Felix Sarfo-Kantanka and Anna James, the governor's legislative director, policy director. About a year ago, you gave us some update on the 2014 session, and then you were looking ahead to 2015. So we'd very much like to do something very similar today, to have you tell our viewers about some of the major policy, legislative matters that were governor's initiatives the governor worked on in the session that's now passed, and then we'll save some time to talk about the upcoming session. So who wants to start?
I can start.
Sure.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us
Yes.
here on the show. Felix and I are glad to be back. And if you think about a year ago where we were in 2014, the new administration just started. It was our first session. And then, come all the way to this year, it's probably a different feel for both of us. The session, I think, went really well for the governor. He pretty much got almost everything he wanted, actually everything he wanted. We worked in a bipartisan way on ethics reform, on a budget that we did sign, on SOL reform, expedited retakes, workforce, and transportation even, P3 legislation. And I think everyone was very happy at the end of the day, and I think we had a great session.
And on the budget part, it's you all could recall past sessions and all of it. It's not too often that a budget is signed without other amendments going back from the governor. So this was.
It's actually it's been a long time since that has happened, because that's one of the prerogatives of the governor is to make these amendments to the budget or even line item vetoes. And so it was a great budget that came to us. We worked on it in the front end. The governor had the leadership of both House Appropriations and Senate Finance to come to figure out what was everyone's priorities and work together to figure out what's the best. And at the end of the day, we got more money for economic development, for K-12. There was no cuts to K-12. Higher education looked good, and all the core priorities of the governor.
Yeah, I just want to stress welcoming us. Thank you again for the opportunity. It's glad to be here with a budget done this time. So that's good. But
I think last time we talked, it was in that extended budget time, and it hadn't really passed.
Yeah, still working on some matters. But as Anna said, this was a very, very successful session for the governor. Was very pleased with the results. And as she said, just with the bipartisan cooperation, I really want to stress that. Unfortunately, after this election cycle, we're going to be losing a lot of that institutional knowledge and a lot of the champions of a lot of those issues. I know with Senator Stosh, Senator Watkins, Senator Colgan, Senator Poehler, also in the House. a lot of members deciding not to continue this line of public service, but it was a lot of work behind the scenes. I know Anna was involved in a lot of those budget meetings, working with Chairman Jones, the Speaker, a lot of House Republican and Democratic caucus leadership, a lot of meetings outside of off campus, just making sure that all the priorities and initiatives, all the stakeholders, all the advocates were informed. I know even today we still are having a lot of those weekly meetings. I know Anna meets with a lot of the environmentalist groups. I know I'm involved with some stakeholder meetings, but just want to really reiterate just the bipartisan cooperation on a lot of good pieces of legislation. I know Anna had mentioned a lot of the governor's priorities, but she's very modest. She did a great job of helping us out with a lot of the policy just to get these matters passed. It's just a lot of time and effort, David, goes into this, and I know that I'm very appreciative of Anna's hard work.
Felix is the one on the ground.
It's team effort. So.
Well, I will say that you all, as well as the legislators, had very little time after the special session finally got the budget passed. And then as the General Assembly stayed in special session until they were ready to convene 2015, that it didn't give a great deal of time to be ready then for 15 for a short session and to get all these things accomplished.
And that's, I mean, as Anna said, just with the governor's priorities and the legislature just working together. Literally as we were finishing up the work for 2014, I mean, we were meeting with legislators, talking about our priorities, getting champions together, making sure that the stuff that we had to do was ready, because I mean, January beginning of session just was here. I mean, we were already in that mode to get into 2015. So.
You know, probably get your all's reaction to this, the only plus to that extended time on getting the previous budget was the legislators were here and along with the governor started working on the budget amendments for 2015.
Oh, exactly. Because how the process worked is, so we finished the last budget, I guess it was June. It was very towards the end. You know, July 1st is the first day of the new biennium. And then we looked at returns and we saw that we had a huge budget shortfall, over $2 billion that we had to fill. So it was really great to have that bipartisanship working with the General Assembly to figure out, you know, is it new revenues or is it straight cuts to some of our agencies, and what is the best path forward. So when they came back in the fall to kind of put a game plan together that we agreed to, it actually helped a lot in figuring out what pieces. So and what we agreed upon, no cuts to K-12, which happened. We wanted more economic development money, which we did, $5 million, and then also this year. And then also to make sure that our funding for a new healthcare program that we put in place, Healthy Virginia, was also not cut, which we are fortunate that we worked with the General Assembly in doing that. But it kind of set us up for this year, and that bipartisan, trying to figure out a plan, how to look at the shortfall, and it worked really well to start this new session with that kind of background.
And since this session is ended, sticking with the budget, it appears from those reports coming out that the revenues are certainly sufficient to meet the budget, if not slightly more.
And I think you're going to see later on, closer to the July 1st time, what the revenues are looking like moving forward. But we were very conservative in our approach, which I think is the exact way that we need to be, and also put aside money in the rainy day fund or the revenue stabilization fund as well. And I think, you know, prudent decisions were made, and hopefully, you know, the revenues will look good, but it's still to be determined right now.
Felix, you were talking about those 4 senior legislators retiring. Some of us were adding up. It's right at 100 years of experience.
Oh yes, and I did not mean to remiss the ones from the House as well. I know especially Chairman Rust, Tom Rust, has been very, very helpful with transportation legislation. As Anna said, we had the P3 legislation, also the omnibus transportation bill that
and Uber
and Lyft. Yeah. I mean, there's Chairman Scott. I mean, there's just a lot of leadership, a lot of years of experience, a lot of institutional knowledge that we're going to be losing. And I mean, we worked, both of us worked very closely with a lot of those members, and it's going to be a change. It's going to be a challenge, and folks are going to have to step up and bring some new leadership and some new ideas. So.
Right. Well, that's going to be, and even the June 9th primaries will
Yes.
indicate whether there are other changes or whether incumbents are returning. So that's going to be a challenging time. Well, as you perhaps start looking ahead to 2016 with more time to get this worked out, what are some of the things that are already on your radar that you're working on, policy-wise, legislative-wise? And I think that, as you explained to our viewers almost a year ago, that the two work together, policy and the legislative, that you very much together.
Well, I think we want to continue in some of the successes we had this past session. One example would be workforce development. We really changed the model of how we pay for workforce development. A good majority, almost if not all of it, is federal money. And so how do we allocate that to the local workforce investment boards, to the community colleges, to the Virginia Employment Commission, and also do a little bit more of a pay-for-performance model to making sure that we're getting those outcomes that we need to get individuals ready for the workplace and ready to succeed. And so I think we have a little more work to do on that, aligning more incentive payments potentially, and some other ideas that we're working on right now with a lot of the leadership of the General Assembly. I think that's one of the issues we're going to look at. Same with economic development. Are we utilizing the funds appropriately? The governor did get a lot more money, and we changed it to the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund, which is, if we get our money, we're fine. But I think, what is the best for all parts of the state? Is it a regional approach? Is it, looking at the employers there? Is it the pipeline, the workforce? And I think making sure that Virginia is the best place to do business and to grow a family. So,
the tobacco settlement money also, I guess, is part of the economic development initiatives that the
very much so.
governors have, and in a bipartisan way, there were some changes made to future allocations of that fund.
What we did is to look at the current tobacco, make up the current tobacco commission, and for those, this is money that is given out. It's probably over about $300 million that's still in the fund right now. This is from all the tobacco settlements, and we looked at what is the best way to spend that money. We did a lot of reforms, but one of the ones is to have a loan program. So right now it's just grants given out, but to have a revolving loan that we can give out that people can pay back. And I think that was a key to the reforms, and also the sustainability of the money moving forward. So that was one of the big ideas we had, and it passed pretty overwhelmingly. We worked with Chairman Kilgore and Chairman Ruff to carry those bills, and I think it worked out pretty well. So.
Because if that had not been done in a relatively short time, those funds could have been gone.
Exactly, exactly. So it's to kind of increase longevity of the program, which is doing great work down in the Southwest and South Side Virginia, especially as it relates to economic development. I know we have cancer money and all the other projects that they're doing down there.
So Felix, on legislation, particular issues that maybe were not suitable for the short session, that looking ahead.
During the session there were a series of issues that were brought forward. I know one of the issues was the UAVs with the drones, and I know that the Secure Commonwealth panel early in the session, a letter was sent from Secretary Moran to have that legislation to be put in a special subcommittee for the panel, and unfortunately the General Assembly did not do that, and now we are working. That panel is continuing some work, so I know that will be one issue. I know also the Opioid Task Force is continuing to do work from the General Assembly, some legislation that was passed this past session, but also working together, and I know also too the SOL reform task force is doing some work. So a lot of the legislative priorities will be coming from the governor's task force that are looking at these issues as they come forward, and we're preparing for 2016 to look at some solutions to kind of get their bills ready for prime time. So.
So if some of our viewers were interested in those task forces and what they're working on, those meetings, I suppose they'll find on the General Assembly calendar, legislative calendar?
Yeah, they should be on the Legislative Information System. I know the ABC task force, I think, is meeting later this afternoon. That should be on LIS. Usually if there are meetings that aren't on LIS, if you contact the clerk's office, the House or the Senate or even the governor's office, I know there should be a list available for those meetings, and that's pretty much what I'm doing right now, just kind of checking in to a lot of those meetings, just making sure that the secretary, staff folks are staying on task, that we're looking at those recommendations. I know Anna and I are going to be meeting with all the cabinet members within the next probably a couple of weeks, just to kind of start it all over again, see what went well, what didn't go well, what we can do moving forward for 2016. But literally we're starting that process already, so definitely those meetings are good resources for constituents to get those ideas. So.
Hey, when you mentioned ABC, I think our viewers probably know that's alcohol beverage control.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the acronym.
When Senator McDougal was on recently, he talked
I did
about
talk
the
about
Okay, yeah.
he talked about the again a bipartisan effort that was made to make some significant changes, and the fact that there still would be other changes to be considered by the legislature and the governor. So.
Yeah, Senator McDougal was very helpful. Also, Delegate Alba was very helpful in those efforts. And as stating back to the obvious, I mean, just bipartisan fashion. I mean, just having both chambers work with the governor's office early, often, and also during the process to get legislation passed was just very important. I think this session. I mean, there were some issues, there were some challenges, but I mean, all in all, I mean, I think we had a very, very successful session. Yeah.
And with the session, bipartisan has been mentioned several times, and sort of almost the necessity of that, with the Republicans having a slight majority in the Senate and then significant majority in the House. It was a matter of the governor and the legislature needing to come together.
Yeah, I know Anna had mentioned education earlier, and I mean that was, I mean, we had worked very closely, I know, with Delegate Tad Greason on some issues, and just, I mean, all the members, as Anna said earlier, just areas and ways that we knew that we could communicate early and often, and just get that on the table. That just helped out for communication and also prioritizing those legislative issues for this coming session and for this past session and moving forward for 2016. I mean, I think we're going to use that same framework to prepare. So,
Well, we're going to put up on the screen the website for the governor's policy page, and they can back out of that and see the governor's entire page. But on the policy page, listed not in priority order, each one being very important, but there's an alphabetical order from E through W of different policies. And without our taking, and there wouldn't be enough time to go on each one of the eight, but Anna, as you think about the policies, some of the major ones that you'll be working on along with Felix, along with the cabinet and the governor, what's near the top or on the top of your list for 16, or the governor's list?
I think definitely what the governor ran on is creating jobs and selling Virginia. And I think growing and diversifying the economy and building this new economy in Virginia. So not relying on the federal government, which we do is usually one of the number one funders in Virginia, especially the DOD. We're the number one DOD recipient dollars in any state. And I think we have a reliance on the federal government for a lot of the economy in Virginia. So what are the new sectors coming out? Is it bioscience? Is it cybersecurity? Is it advanced manufacturing? And looking at the new industry sectors that are coming, and how can we sell Virginia to get those companies to relocate here or just locate here, and which creates jobs. And I think above and beyond that is the number one priority of the governor right now, is creating jobs in Virginia, and he's done an amazing job of doing that. And looking at the capital expenditures and everything, it's just above and beyond any of the past governors, and that is what he wakes up every day proud to do, is sell Virginia, and why we are the best state for business, to grow a family. I would also say a couple other things. I talked about workforce earlier. That is a big priority. And also healthcare and access to healthcare for all Virginians, I would put at the top of the list. The governor in the fall came out with a new access plan, especially those with severe mental illness, to try to get some coverage, so it's not Medicaid expansion, but coverage to help them succeed and get jobs and get back on their feet. And I think, looking at the access for healthcare is a key priority for him as well. But those are probably some of the top ones. We've got a lot going on. Education, obviously, would be another one too, especially the pre-K and before you go to school. The readiness is key in the K-12 system.
And you mentioned health care. Certainly the Supreme Court has a big issue.
Yes.
Has several big issues, but one that relates to states that do not have our own exchange.
Yes.
That, as the majority of the states, I believe, don't.
A good
have.
majority.
Yeah.
Or on the federal facilitated, or have a federally facilitated exchange. So what that is that we use the federal government to do the exchange. We have 385,000 individuals in Virginia on the federally facilitated exchange. That is a lot of people.
Yeah.
So depending on what the Supreme Court comes on, it's King versus Burwell is the case that we should hear their decision in June, sometime, maybe late June, still to be decided. But that would affect 385,000 Virginians. Actually, 90% of those receive federal subsidies. So the premiums are paid by the federal government to be on the exchange. This is just a great opportunity for these individuals that need healthcare access. And so we're hoping the decision comes the way we want, but we'll be ready to react depending on what they decide.
Now, if I saw it correctly, one of the issues that came right down to reconvene day, and right after that, where the legislature and the governor differed, was whether about setting aside some money or something to try to subsidize those, and a legislative initiative the governor thought was not proper at this time.
Yeah, well, what it was a bill in the House that and it said that if the subsidies went away for the federal exchange, then you can offer a limited benefit plan. And so what that would be is less than what the federal government dictates, that we have 10 essential health benefits. And so this would decrease the coverage that individuals would get, and we just disagree upon that action. First of all, we believe King Burwell will, that decision will uphold the premiums for these individuals, but if not, then we need to work with the federal government, and that bill kind of decreased our flexibility a little bit. So we vetoed that bill.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention, in regards to legislative work from last session and then also moving forward, just our work with veterans. I know just even last week, the First Lady and the Governor were at a bill signing, and just we did a lot of work with veterans, had V3 legislation, and with the First Lady's program, but just I think moving forward next session, I think we're going to look for more opportunities to provide more employment opportunities, especially for our veterans and their families, and to help them out. So I think
that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Secretary Harvey, who is in charge of Veterans and Defense Affairs, is an amazing guy, and he has a whole plan for it's not only homelessness veterans. We're trying to end that. We're also just giving them, looking at their experiential training and giving them community college credit for it was a bill that we had this past session. And just looking at different ways to help our veterans who come home and it's the employment piece, it's the family, and it's just everything. I think that's one big priority.
I had an opportunity to observe him in action.
Secretary Harvey?
Very, very recently, pushing and pulling with the federal folks about even some health care.
Yes.
Pilot projects, whether Eastern Shore, South Side, Southwest, or some areas of the Commonwealth, to try to get better health care available. And so
he's amazing. And if you look at the map of where the coverage was for the VA system, and the VA system has obviously been in the news a lot, and Congress passed a bill, $10 billion, but we're trying to fill those holes. So there's some dark parts in the map where there's no coverage, or people have to drive over an hour. Eastern Shore is a really good example that they had no veterans clinics. So what Secretary Harvey has done, also our Deputy Secretary Jennifer Lee has worked together with our federally qualified health centers. And so looking at the network of those, which are federally funded clinics, to see if they can have access for veterans that can work with the VA system
Right.
as well. And I think they're more community health centers. And I think that has gone a long way to make sure that these veterans do have access to quality health care and they're being seen and not waiting.
Yes.
So.
I wish we had another half hour, but Anna and Felix, thank you again, and we look forward to having conversation with you again in the near future too. Thank
Okay.
you.
We'll
Great,
see you up on
thank
the hill.
you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Steve. Thank you.
This Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Dignity Memorial, caring for our communities with a network of funeral homes and cemeteries in Virginia and throughout North America. More information about Dignity Memorial's providers is online at dignitymemorial.com.
Alpha Natural Resources, a leader in mine safety and an environmental steward.
Haley Buick GMC in Richmond and online at haleybuickgmc.com. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community.
The Virginia Education Association, because a good education is good for everybody.
Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.